Did you know that Pokemon star Pikachu directly translates from Japanese as sparkly mouse noise? You're listening to the Xbox Hub Podcast, the official podcast of the TheXboxHub.com. For all the latest Xbox news, reviews, videos, and opinions, make sure you visit the TheXboxHub.com. But for now, settle down, get comfy, and open your ears for some podcast delights. Hello, welcome to the Xbox Hub Official Podcast, episode 111. My name is Gareth Brady. I'm your host, and on my virtual left is Mr. James Burks. How you doing, James?
Hello, it's been quite a while.
Yeah, it has,
Good back.
Yeah, we've had a little break.
How are you?
I'm good. It is it's like riding a bike and all that. It's the first one of the year. It's quite hard to get back into the rhythm of it.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, I forgot how to speak, first of all. On my virtual right is Mr. Darren Edwards. How you doing, Darren?
Hello, Gareth. I'm very well. How are you? Happy New Year.
Very good. And you've just recovered from COVID, haven't you?
I have, yeah. Thankfully, it wasn't too ill, but a couple of days I was wiped out, but all better now.
Oh, good. And on my virtual opposite is Mr. Richard Dobson. How you doing, Richard?
Hello, Happy New Year, everyone. Good, thank you. How are you?
Oh, very good. And Richard, let's start with you. What have you been doing this week?
Watching a lot of films. So I managed to finally catch Matrix 4, Matrix Resurrections.
Yeah.
But the less said, the better about that film.
We watched that as well.
Without spoiling anything, do you feel the same, Darren?
It's one of those. It's quite meta, as they say, but there was no real need for it. But some people will find enjoyment from it, but I didn't thought I gained anything after the 2 hours or so.
Richard, you say?
Watched it.
It's very meta, very self-referential. I think they tried to do something a bit different with it, but it's not really worked out. Okay.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are saying this. What else have you seen?
I watched Don't Look Up on Netflix, the Adam McKay film about the comet arriving. And I'd heard mixed things about that as well, but I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, we did too. We loved that.
I think... sorry, go on.
Well, no, the interesting thing, that was filmed during the first lockdown. So when you watch it, you think it's like an analogy for COVID as well. And they didn't know anything about COVID, really. They didn't know what people's reaction was, so it's quite a surprise.
It felt like that a little bit, and then also in regards to climate change as well. But I think Adam McKay has sort of really, in his last few films, has carved out this satirical side to him a little bit more than perhaps some of his earlier stuff did. Yeah, and I quite enjoyed that. And also, I managed to also see Licorice Pizza.
Ooh, what's that like?
Which is the new Paul Thomas Anderson film, who's absolute favourite director. But that was very good. It reminded me a bit of Boogie Nights. If I had to pick another one of his films, it was like. Yeah. It sort of meanders along, and then there's a big thing that happens towards the end. But it's just a really, really nice film to watch. The chemistry between the two of the main cast, to say that neither of them have really had any real acting lessons, by all accounts, was very impressive. It felt very genuine between them, and I hope to see them too in a lot more films, I think.
Okay, good. So you had a bit of a cinema. Did you see all these at the cinema?
No, I saw Don't Look Up at home, but I managed to get out for the other two as well.
Wow, that's good. Better than me. I haven't been to the cinema since the original Star Wars. That's what it feels like. Darren, what about you? What have you been doing this week?
So similar to Richard, because I've been under house arrest. Because I pretty much was testing positive for the entirety of my isolation. I couldn't escape early. So playing games, watching films, seems like me and Richard have watched similar things. But my guilty pleasure, The Apprentice, returned. So I don't know if you're fans. A lot of people on Twitter saying, "Oh, it's tired, put it to bed." But I'm a big fan. They did an Australia one, I think, last year when they didn't do the UK one, which was on the iPlayer. But this has just kicked off the UK one, which is full of the usual suspects. So it's very entertaining indeed.
Right. I did watch it about season 4. I probably watched it, and then it just became like a disaster zone. It's made it because it's just people going. You could just hear the producers going, just say that, say something really, just say something a bit mad about yourself. It's when people talk about themselves, go, I'm the kind of person who walks into a bar and people love the way I look. You know, they don't really would ever say something like that, but someone's forcing them to say it, isn't it? It's like, but, yeah. And also, none of them would ever work anywhere. I don't know if they were like that, would they? But
no, not at all. You're right. It's fallen into a formula that is very tacky, but I still love it. I can't hide from that.
I don't remember that guy who won it years ago. Tom, I think he was an inventor.
Oh, with that crazy hair and the glasses.
Yeah, I don't think he'd ever win it. He would never win it again. Yeah, that was quite an interesting thing because he was quite a sweet guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, he seemed. He wasn't like really, arrogant almost, was he? He was quite, reserved. Yeah.
Good. James, what about you?
Films and TV, just like the rest of them. I finally got around to watching Mortal Kombat, the film. And I must say, whoever did the marketing and released that 7 minutes of free footage on YouTube is the best marketer in the world. Because the rest of the film is absolute tosh. It's two different films. The first 10 minutes or so, you're thinking, wow, this is quite an interesting, stripped back version of Mortal Kombat, and it looks quite dramatic and well acted. And then the rest of the hour and 20 is cheesiness, terrible acting, and really forced references to the games. It's so bad.
Right.
And I wish I'm bothered now.
I don't know what you expected. That's what I'm saying. I don't know what you expected.
It tricked me. It absolutely tricked me. And then, on the other hand, I'm watching Dexter. And that's just more disappointment. I was like, do I want it to come back? Yes. Do I want it now? I wish it hadn't.
We were talking about it. You said it really well when you said there's about 2 good episodes out of 9 or 10, isn't there?
Yeah.
Good. I'm going to just finish off with 2 things. I've watched so much, though. I watched ridiculous amounts of stuff. I'm really enjoying the morning show at the moment. I'm going to say that's on Apple TV. Really liking everything Apple TV doing.
We've watched that, Gareth. Both series now. We loved it.
It's really good.
Really enjoyed it.
One of the first series, I love it. Hawkeye I watched. Did you watch that on Disney? Do you like it? I enjoyed that.
I did. I thought it was a steady start, but it got better and better and better as it went on.
It was funny and entertaining.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and it was set in New York at Christmas. It's great. Yeah, that's good. I liked Kate Bishop. I thought she was good.
Yeah.
Yellow Jackets. Have you seen her? I know James has. Richard, have you seen Yellow Jackets? Darren?
No.
Yellow Jackets is a weird one because actually it's done really well in the States, and I don't think many people have seen it because I think the marketing puts it off. It doesn't show what it is. And the premise is it's a group of American high school girls who are in a soccer team. I'm saying soccer because it's America. And they are off to the finals, like they're 18. And they're on their plane. It crashes in an island and they're stuck on an island. Not on an island, they're stuck in the middle of nowhere. And they've got to survive. But what it does do, it basically straight away is flashing forward to now. So they're 40. And so straight away you're knowing something's quite odd and something, are there people there? You can see so it's instantly flashing between the 2 things. And it has kind of vibes straight away of Lost. It had some horror stuff in there as well, and weird supernatural stuff, I think. Is that fair to say, James?
It's definitely a little bit on the weird side.
Yeah.
There's something going on, but we don't really know.
No. Maybe the writers don't know, like they did with Lost. But it's really good. I think there's a couple more episodes to go. The run it's on Now TV or on Sky Atlantic if you got that. So it's really good. It's really well done. Juliette Lewis is in it as the older one. There's the woman from the mum in Don't Look Up, Leonardo DiCaprio's wife in that. And it's great. I recommend it. I'm enjoying it.
It's getting quite dark as well, isn't it? I think it gets darker and darker the more you learn about what went on.
Yeah. And we won't hide it, but they don't mince about in the first 5 minutes. You get an idea of what happened. We won't say anything.
Yeah, definitely.
What is that on?
That's on Now TV or Sky Atlantic. You can get it.
Okay.
Yeah. Games. Now it's quite a weird time because there's not really that many new games in Jan, but I think we've played quite a lot over Christmas, haven't we? We've caught up on stuff. Let's go for some of us, yeah. Let's go, Richard. What have you been playing first of all?
I think the big
2 each. I think.
Yeah. Okay. The big one that I've been playing. I finished Lake the other day. As it went into Game Pass just before Christmas, so I thought I'd give it a try. And I think did Dave do the review when it came out a few months ago?
I don't, yeah.
So I was a bit upset that I missed it, but I couldn't put my name down for it for whatever reason. But I'm glad I managed to play it. I really enjoyed it. It's very relaxing. It's not necessarily a game for everyone because you are literally just driving around this town that's set around a lake, delivering post and having these interactions with the residents. There's some sort of like conversation trees where you can pick and choose answers. It's quite obvious from the very beginning who the characters are that you're going to be romancing as well. You get to pick one of those. And I just enjoyed. I would play one of the days. So it's set over the course of 2 weeks. I would play one of the days on an evening just to relax myself and get me ready to go to sleep, because it was just a very calming experience. And while I was happy that I'd finished it, I would like to have maybe had like an endless mode where you could just go around delivering post all the day. Just really calming, and the graphics are pretty good. It's all like pastel colours and everything, and it's got a lot of licensed music. Yeah,
it has. Isn't it? I've done about 3 days, and I've got to go back to it. I was really enjoying it.
But yeah, I really enjoyed the soundtrack. It's country music, which isn't necessarily my top choice for songs, but there's some really good songs in it as well, and it was just nice to drive around delivering post and listening to these songs.
Yeah. You know what you need to play, Richard?
What?
Death Stranding.
Death Stranding. Someone else said that as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's the best post game since Death Stranding.
You do. You need to play. You get the director's cut now. Get it on.
I have upgraded. I paid the £5 to upgrade. I just need to finish that off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've put 30 hours into it, and I still feel I've barely touched the surface of it.
It's a good game. I enjoyed that game. We talked about that before. Darren, what's your first?
So my first is Evil Genius 2 World Domination, which came out not so long ago on PC and is on Xbox Game Pass. The original, I think, was a PC-only sim game way back in the mid-noughties, and this is kind of the proper sequel to that. And it's really good fun. So you essentially play as one of 4 evil geniuses who have to build their lairs within these rock faces, and there's 2 or 3 different locations in the world that you can choose, and you have to do all sorts, from powering the base to hiring loads of minions and training them in different classes such as guards and socialites and assassins and goodness knows what else. And then once you've kind of leveled up your base, your lair rather, you then go out onto the world stage and you can do all sorts in terms of assassinations or heists, It's really, really good fun, and it's a bit different to your standard kind of sim game in the sense that there isn't like a load of missions and you move around. You start your playthrough and then you just play through the story, and it'll differ depending on which genius you choose, and there's loads of optional objectives, kind of limited time side objectives as well as the main story. So I must have put a good 12, 13 hours into my playthrough, and there was still kind of stuff you could do as well. So if you're looking for something a bit different in terms of the sim game that isn't your classic kind of, total war type scenario, then I'd really recommend it. And it's on Game Pass, so there's no reason not to.
Okay, that sounds good. I've got it downloaded. I need to do it.
It's good, but you can't just dip in for an hour or two because it keeps you kind of wanting to play more, and it'll string you along, and slowly the world will get bigger and you'll get more options, as research options and things to build. So I'd put some time aside for it.
Okay, good. Okay, James, what's yours?
My single game this week is The Pedestrian, which I think we first saw. Was it in a PlayStation showcase?
We did. Yeah.
I think
it was on PlayStation.
And now it's on Game Pass. It's a 2.5D side-scrolling platformer with a little bit of puzzling, and you play as a stickman who traverses across public notices, like signage, within the real world. It looks unique. So the platform is quite simple at the start. So you jump maybe up a few platforms, go through doors, and then next you might have to rearrange the signs so that you can access different notices, stickman. And I think it's not a very long game. I only played a couple of hours and I'm nearly finished. But I think the idea of having a almost real world around the signs makes it quite interesting. You find yourself actually looking at the environment as much as the platforming. But yeah, I think because it introduces new mechanics, maybe every area, like you might start in a warehouse and then you'll move to a subway or an academy, and because it keeps adding new mechanics, it keeps it fresh. You never really get bored of it. It's not a 5-star game. It's a solid 3.5, 4. It's on Game Pass.
Richard's just reviewed it. What did you give it, Richard?
No, I didn't. It was Diana.
Oh, was it Diana? Ah.
Yeah, I have played it. I played it when it came onto the PlayStation.
Wow. I think she's given it.
Richard. Okay.
Sorry, what was that?
I was going to say, did you enjoy it when you played it?
Yeah, I did. It did get a bit repetitive, though, I felt. I know that it introduced new mechanics for each area you were in, but it was just the process of getting to that new area I felt was a bit too long at times. It could have been a bit snappier.
Kind of know what you mean. Yeah.
So Diana's done the review for us. She's given it a 4.5. I'm going with Diana on this. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I think it's really clever. I just love the design of it. I think that really helps me. And I think it's
definitely designed.
Yeah, the design is great. It's very clever.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, good. Thank you, James. Now, I've just been catching up with all the games that I hadn't the time to properly play. And one of these, we did you might have listened to this, we did our Game of the Year podcast just over Christmas. And I've played Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, none of us, I don't think, played Guardians of the Galaxy apart from James who reviewed it. And I think that would have definitely been up there on my game. I think it might have been.
It deserves to be.
Yeah, 3 or 2, but it wasn't on the list because we only had James. It's all the review. Have you, Darren or Richard, do you think about getting it?
I've installed it. I got it for Christmas and I've installed it today.
That's a bit like me. So Ryan's got it and played it, but I haven't touched it yet.
It's very good. I mean, just on its own, the writing and the characters are brilliantly done. voiceover as well. It's very funny. It's really the worlds look amazing. They look beautiful. It's like one of the best looking Xbox games, I think, out there. Is that fair to say, James?
Yeah, I'd give it that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know you've only played Gems of War, so it's must be a massive leap for you.
I mean, there's no need for disrespect, is there?
Well said, James.
But it does do really nice. You do the fighting stuff and going around the world. It's all the stuff is great, but it has all these little touches that are great. There's a little moment which I love. You're on the spaceship, whatever that spaceship's called. They've all got, and there's a lovely moment when every time you walk past, there's a fridge door. And it's always ajar, and you just get the option to close it. And this goes on. And it's a long game. I'm nearly at the end. I think I've done about 20 odd plus hours, and you just walk every day. You just can't stop doing it. It's like being at home. Close that fridge door. Just always slightly ajar. It's really clever little touches like that. Great. It's a really, really good game.
That got me every time.
Yeah,
every time.
Really
Without fail.
It's great, and it needs it's buggy, like James said in the review, I think. But it's great. It's really, really good.
What's the soundtrack like, Gareth? Because that's the key part of Guardians, isn't it?
Really good. Brilliant. More than you expect. Yeah, it's really some great tracks on there. Yeah. And it flops back. It goes back to the 80s at some point. But it's really, the soundtrack's great. Everything about it. Good game.
I quite enjoyed when it went back in time. Because you could see all the little Easter eggs on the wall in the rooms, and like little throwbacks to even Star Wars. It's nice little touches in there. It engages you.
Beautifully designed game. It's really lovely.
Yeah, it's very cool.
James hasn't got another one. Let's go to Richard again. Richard, what's your second one?
I've just finished my review for a game that came out just before Christmas called Circus Percuss, which is another one of those really cheap, easy gamer score games. But this one's centered around two brothers that stumble upon this circus late at night in a forest, and rather than run the opposite way like any normal person would, they decide to investigate it. And unsurprisingly, one of the brothers gets captured by these undead clowns, and it's up to you to then rescue him. So it's sort of like a 2D stealth platformer type game. So there's all these little areas, and there'll be clowns patrolling them, and you need to sort of get from one end to the other. If the clowns see you, then you can try and run away from them, but it's very unlikely that you will. And then there'll be lots of environmental obstacles as well. So there's these bottles that act as proximity mines, but you can use those to your advantage. Spikes and everything else you would expect. But it was quite short. It took me just over an hour to complete. But it's a bit of fun. There's not much. If you've played any stealth game or platformer game, you know what to expect from it. But in terms of easy gamer score, it's that as well, and I think it costs £4.19.
Oh, so classic price point. Yeah.
It's one of those games, but it wasn't. It's definitely not the worst one I've played.
No,
by any means. It was enjoyable enough.
Good. I like these £4 games, even though I seem to be reviewing a lot of them, like we all are. But yeah. Good. What's your next one, Darren?
So I'll choose one that isn't a £4 game, but Serious Sam 4, which I reviewed a week or two ago. So this is quite a long-run series. I don't know if any of you have played it, but I'm a bit of a fan. It's got a bit of a cult following. I had it originally for, I think it was a PC, and then they had a spin-off one on the GameCube. So anyway, this is the fourth one, and it's pretty average, if I'm being honest. So I gave it 3 out of 5 because it kind of caters to what fans would enjoy from the series, but it was a bit of a slog to finish it. It's quite a long campaign as well. So there's 15 missions, but if anyone is familiar with Serious Sam, you basically walk into a large valley and then hundreds of enemies spawn, and you have to try and plough through them with miniguns and all sorts of other crazy weapons. But it felt like it tried to be too serious, rather ironically, in terms of how it looked. So every level just looked like a multiplayer level from Counter-Strike, pretty much, from back in the day. Right. It didn't look particularly great either on the Xbox. It was optimized, but like it in certain snapshots it looked good, but then when things started moving, you get frame rate issues and all sorts. So it had plenty of rough edges. So I think there's enough there to please the fans, which is why I kind of enjoyed it for what it was. But it wouldn't win you over if you weren't a fan of the others. It's very much does what it says on the tin with serious sound.
Yeah. No, I don't think I'll be. Oh, hello. What was that? Darth Vader.
Didn't hear that.
It couldn't go so. Yeah. I'm keeping that in. I like it. Yes, seriously. No, I don't think it's for me. Thank God you reviewed that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The last one I'm going to talk about is a game that's been out for a while again, but it is my Christmas time of trying to catch up. I think is Keny. It's on PlayStation 5. Keny Bridge of Spirits. I think it came out in August, September time. Maybe September. And it's on PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4, I think, and it's won the awards. It won the recent Game Awards thing for Best Indie. It's a beautiful looking game. You play this kind of this woman who's on this kind of journey. It's like a kind of Fable type journey or a Zelda type journey, through this beautiful kind of world. And there's this kind of rot and fungi everywhere that you have to kind of get rid of and fight creatures. You've seen the trailers. It's playing it. It's a really good showcase for that console. Just how beautiful it looks. It looks like a Disney movie. It looks, you can't, the cutscenes and the gameplay, you just can't. It just flips easily between the two. But you collect these little kind of like they're called rot, and they're little kind of creatures. So you have to just collect more of them, and then you can the kind of little cute little black little fuzzy things, and then you can buy hats for them if you want to. I haven't bought hats for them, but you can buy hats for them, so they've all got different hats on. But you just collect more and more, so you've got this kind of trail of about 30 behind you at the moment, and then they go off and kind of like lift things up or get rid of someone that kind of like the evil rot that's coming in the world, or turn into a fighting machine. It's a really relaxing game. It's a kind of perfect Christmas game. I really enjoyed it, even though Guardians of the Galaxy has taken my time. But it's in the sale at the moment, or when the sale ends. So if you want to get it, it's about £23. So it's definitely worth a go. Keny Bridge of Spirits. Right, that's it. That's our games. That's what we've been playing. We're going to go into some news now. Now it's getting busier, but I'm excited about this year. But 10 minutes ago, one of the big Xbox games, which was coming out April the 28th, was Stalker 2, was announced. There was rumours already today, and they announced it. It's been delayed until December of this year. So that's a big Xbox game, because we talked about before, Xbox haven't got many exclusives coming up, if I'm right, in the first half of the year, have they? This was their big one, wasn't it?
There's not an awful lot of showcase titles for Game Pass that we know of yet, even though they dropped a few like Mass Effect Legendary, didn't they?
Yeah.
Not so long ago.
But this would have been next gen, or this gen, only, and it was on Game Pass only for the moment. So it was a big one. So yeah, they need more. They need some more time till December, which made me kind of think about, are we going to get more delays on things? I think we maybe with the new kind of Omicron virus, we're probably going to affect quite a lot maybe this year. What do you guys think's going to be delayed? James, you got any thoughts?
I don't know what's coming out this year.
There you go.
I haven't got a clue.
Good.
No, I do think it will affect some of the games, but I don't know. I'm trying to think of any that would definitely get delayed. I mean, I'm still worried about Dying Light 2.
Oh, really?
You just never know.
Wow.
No, it's not ready.
Have you seen the what's made me laugh is the amount of gameplay hours they said you'd need to 100%.
Yeah.
Sent Twitter, it's a bit of a meltdown. 500 hours, they said. And then they've clarified it and said, no, that's to do everything. You don't need to play it 500 hours to complete the main game.
20 hours the main game.
Yeah.
yeah. I've got a feeling the February kind of game, Dying Light, Horizon, maybe Elden Ring, are going to be safe.
I'm thinking the same as you, Gav. I'm hoping that ones that are that far gone will be okay, but then it depends what happens kind of for the rest of half one then.
Yeah.
Because if we look at E3 as well, that's going to be digital again, isn't it? So it's still having an effect, and it depends on where you are around the world, because countries are in very different places, aren't they? In terms of what's happening with Omicron and stuff. So I don't think we're out the woods yet in terms of delays at all.
Richard, what do you think? Gran Turismo, PlayStation 5. Do you think that's not going to come up?
I hope not. That's one of the big ones I'm looking forward to this year. I saw that Horizon Forbidden West has leaked.
Yes.
So I believe that one should be nailed in for release date now. I think any delays that we are going to see aren't necessarily going to be delays. So if I'm thinking of God of War Ragnarok, which is due this year, but we've not got a concrete release date yet. So I think stuff like that, we won't necessarily see it as a delay.
Yeah.
But I think that would be back end of this year, likely to slip out a bit more, perhaps.
Starfield.
I was going to say Starfield and Saints Row. I do wonder.
Yeah, Saints Row. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah, it could be. I mean, Xbox need a biggie, don't they? Coming up, I think.
I think Starfield should be all right.
Yeah, they're probably going to go for everyone. Yeah.
Well, they put that release date in over a year ago, didn't they? Yeah.
I know, it's a shame about Stalker. I thought that was I was looking forward to that in April. But, they've got to get it right. They've got to they need the time. Always the same. But yeah, it is a shame. It's a bit of a oh no, here we go again. Good. Okay. You just said you just said it then. E3. In-person event only. Oh no, it's not an in-person event only. It's a digital event. So no E3 again. I'm going to ask a question to you. Will they ever go back on E3?
I'm going to jump in. I don't know if they will. We talked about this last year, didn't we? And I put some thoughts down on paper as well about it. And there's something lovely, and maybe it's nostalgic now, rose-tinted glasses, about everyone whooping and cheering as someone comes onto the stage and they do a big reveal. But with others like Sony and Nintendo trailblazing in the kind of virtual world, I just don't know. Like, I think about elements of work in terms of in-person meetings versus online now, and there are certain elements of all sorts of industries that I don't think will go back to the way it was.
James, what do you think?
I think it could be maybe the end of E3 as we know it, and maybe it just means that Microsoft will do their own thing at some point digitally. I think the whole digital side of it means it's more accessible as well to everyone around the world. It gets more eyes on it. It's more geared up for the audience at home now. I mean, I think I'd be surprised if it ever goes back to being exactly how it was, as in E3. Whether they do their own thing like PlayStation have, that's more likely. But then again, I saw today that EGX is in Birmingham in March.
True.
Which I think, if they're going to keep going with that,
I think isn't there? I think with EGX as well, it's a bit more indie in a sense. It's a bit more.
It's definitely more okay.
Yeah, so I think that kind of thing, that those smaller developers need those kind of things for players to try stuff out. But EGX is a bit more. I don't know, Richard. What do you think? I think personally, I think it's the genie's out of the bottle, and I think sometimes when they go, oh yeah, we can do this online and it's fine, and we don't have to spend £1 million on hiring E3.
Yeah, I mean, I think the writing was always on the cards for E3 even before the pandemic, with the likes of PlayStation and Nintendo not really doing their big yearly shows there anymore. I think E3 will survive as a concept in terms of I think the gaming industry benefits from having a 1 week a year where the big news stories come out. Yeah. I think that side of E3 will continue, whether that's under the banner of E3 or whether it gets given a different name. And even with like Gamescom and stuff, which I think Gamescom's been the big one, the biggest one in terms of numbers for a few years before E3 anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think there will be any more in the Microsoft Theatre big presentations to a couple of thousand people, and everyone else tunes in online. For many of us, it's only ever been online anyway. Really.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, I think the gaming industry needs something like that, where the big news stories come out all at once, because I think it gets people excited.
Yeah. The good news about not having an E3 live, we won't see the Just Dance Ubisoft show.
That's the best bit.
The panda coming on while they crowd up. Good. Just a reminder, just a thing. I watched the Xbox documentary over Christmas. It's on YouTube. It's on the Xbox Store. Have you seen it, you lot? It's like 4 episodes, maybe more. It's really good. It's really honest. It charts from how they started on the first console, how they try to pitch it. It's very honest as well from all the Xbox people. And it goes all the way through. It has a great bit with the Xbox One, launch of that, and how disaster that was, how they got it completely wrong. Talks about the red ring of death for a whole episode. So it's really worth watching. It's really good. It's very, very good. I think people think it's because people thought, it's just like a loving about Xbox, which it isn't. But it's really interesting. Sorry, that reminded me of E3 because there's a lot of E3 stuff in there. Good. Let's go on. Let's go on to Game Pass. I think Game Pass is. You thought they were going to take a little break, didn't you? You thought they had quite a heavy December, but no. They're in with Mass Effect, like we said, and they've got Rainbow Six Extraction, which is probably the biggest game of January, isn't it?
Huge.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. Although not with us, probably.
No. But Mass Effect Legendary Edition's good. Spelunky 2. And what do we think about this Ubisoft, which is going to be coming possibly to Xbox, isn't it? Ubi Plus subscription service.
Yeah.
PC.
I thought at first they were when I first saw it, they were going to fold it in like EA Play, but it seems like it's going to be a separate subscription from Game Pass. So I'm not sure. What's to get excited about, really, if I'm being brutally honest. But I don't know. I suppose it depends how much it costs, etc.
If it was an extra £11 a month, would you get an Ubisoft subscription, Richard?
I don't know. I do play, inadvertently do play a lot of Ubisoft games, but I wouldn't say I'm a massive fan of Assassin's Creed or anything like that. I think what Ubisoft tended to do previous years is sort of put their big releases out towards the end of the year, which means that if people wanted to play them, they could sign up for 3 months, say September to December, and then I think a lot of people would be all right with that.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I know that Extraction's coming out in January, but if I look at the launch of the Series X, we had Valhalla, Watch Dogs Legion within the space of 3 weeks of each other or something like that.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's staggered enough for me to warrant paying so much a month for it.
Yeah. James, what about you?
Yeah, I think Rich is spot on. I think all their games need to come out in the same time frame. It's like, if they're going to release it soon on Xbox, it seems madness that they've given away Extraction to Game Pass. Because that is all they've got, really, for the next, 9 months? I mean, realistically, what else are we going to see on there? Avatar? Maybe?
Just Dance.
Just Dance.
Yeah, Just Dance at the end of the year.
Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Yeah, we're going to get but we will get an Ubisoft.
Don't.
But they're going to release a load of stuff, aren't they, for the end of the year? There'll be another Assassins.
Oh yeah, but to talk about releasing it around, the start of the year or anywhere near now, it seems very silly that they've given away the one major game that they had ready to go. And giving it to Game Pass.
I don't think it's very good. That's why they've given it to Game Pass.
I mean, you're probably right.
I think I've got a feeling they're going to fold into Game Pass. I've got this feeling it's going to happen.
I think it's too dear to go into Game Pass.
Not as a way, but there'd be some kind of... It would just go, I don't know.
I think there'd be different tiers to it, because that's the rumours circulating around the PlayStation 1, isn't it?
There'll be a lot of tiers for me.
Right, I'm going to move us on, because we've got a few things to go through. This is it's kind of interesting, but I'm just got a bit annoyed. It's Take-Two's acquisition of mobile game giant Zynga. What Take-Two like doing at the moment is doing weird things, suing people and buying things, and not actually making games. Yeah, it's kind of strange because it's a deal worth £12.7 billion. I think it's really interesting with Rockstar, which are part of the Take-Two lot. We talked about it before. They've had a bit of egg on their face from GTA. They tried to sue that game Take-Two because they've got the same name. I just kind of want you to make games. And the problem is now, I think, we're in a kind of world where the games industry is ridiculous. When I speak to people who don't play games, I go, there's a 12.7 billion takeover. They go, what? Mm-hmm. And you have to sort of say to them, this industry is bigger than any other industry in the world, apart from probably weapons. So, we are, these kind of places are sort of run by, they're corporations now as well, aren't they? With this money thing. So that's what corporations do. They buy stuff. They buy other things and put it in.
I think
I can't believe it's worth that much. Sorry, Darren.
No, go on, James. I was going to say something very similar.
Yeah, I mean, 12.7 billion for a company that makes probably games that are worse than Candy Crush. It's proper low tier. Obviously, when you're making addictive free games. So they're obviously going to milk that in some way by incorporating the ideas into their own games, which are also quite terrible. Like the Supercard.
Yeah. It's interesting because I looked and Microsoft's buyout of Bethesda cost $8.1 billion apparently, so it's nearly a third more, nearly a third more than that. And I don't know if it might be still because of the reach, because I remember playing these Zynga games like poker and stuff when I was younger, and it was integrated into Facebook, kind of when free online games were in their infancy. So it opens such a market, maybe to people who don't necessarily game on consoles, but will have it on the phone or whatever. So it just makes you wonder what direction they're looking to go in the future and how it will affect their more traditional games that they make, such as Grand Theft Auto, if BioShock ever comes back, etc., etc. So it's quite a fascinating move, I think, one to watch.
Yeah.
Did these guys make a Farmville as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. All those kind of free games that were browser based almost from 10 years ago, they were pretty much behind all of them, I think.
12 billion for Farmville makes sense then.
Yeah.
Sold.
Yeah.
Better than anything Bethesda can make.
Oh.
I'm kidding. Right.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. I don't like all this stuff. I don't like this buyouts and stuff that become like it's just awful. The Phil Spencer, he had an interview with the New York Times and he talked about free speech, which is kind of interesting, isn't it? Who was talking about this? Who put this up here?
I put this on. It was a sneaky segue into politics, but I'll spare you all that. It was interesting because I like Phil Spencer. I like kind of his beliefs and his kind of mission statement for Xbox, and it's all about accessibility and gaming together and this space for everyone. And yeah, I think it was quite brave almost to go out there and say, it's all about games, really. It's all about entertainment. It's not about having big debates about huge issues. The primary focus is for people to have fun, which just caught my eye. And I thought that sounds exactly like something he'd say. And he's been quite consistent with that message since he took the reins.
It can be misinterpreted, this, though, which... When I first saw this link, I was like, "Oh, I wonder what he's referring to." But no, having read the article, I do fully understand where he's coming from.
I think that's why it's brave for me personally.
Yeah, and I agree.
I think it's really hard, isn't it? Because there is kind of there's history of people setting up kind of far right groups in big multiplayer online games, and they've always, and then they've been found and banned, and they've cited free speech and so it becomes really hard, doesn't it? This, you need to. It's good that he said this, I think, because sometimes it does get a bit dangerous.
I agree.
Just sit with Darren on Forza Horizon.
Oh, there's so much to talk about since then. Yeah, we won't go there.
Okay. Right. Good. Now, you three can explain something to me. I just want to just briefly say Age of Empires. There's a rumour that it might be coming to console on Xbox. And I did something today that I can't talk about for 3 weeks. That might confirm that as well. But it's an interesting. Well, do you think that was going to happen? Do you think that we talked about this briefly before, Richard? Do you think that might happen? Age of Empires on the Xbox at last?
Yeah, I hope so. Enjoy the Age of Empires games. I believe they were sending out to the insiders. They were sending out a download for it. To test it out. So I think they're definitely entertaining the idea of it. They previously said at the end of last year they were looking into it, so I think this has come a bit quicker than people were anticipating. But I'd be well up for Age of Empires on console.
It would be great, wouldn't it? I'd love to play
it.
Yeah. I think we're going to get more of these types of games coming over to console now. I think loading screens make it a bit easier with these types of games, and they're starting to work out that control system without the mouse. Starting to find different ways of experimenting with it quite a lot. James, would you be excited?
Definitely. I spent quite a lot of time on Age of Empires 2 on PC, and I think you're right. I think the control layout these days on most of the PC ports are pretty good. So I think it'll work, and if it can handle it, then it's going to be great to see it on console.
Yeah, that'd be really
very
exciting.
much looking forward to it. Yeah.
Also, with Flight Sim, people thought that couldn't do it before. It was hard. It was tricky to get used to first of all, but I think that's really worked really well.
I need to go back to Flight Sim.
I do as well. It's on there.
It put me off going at night time and not seeing anything.
Yeah,
just a waste of time.
I know. And there's now in my inbox, there's a 25 gig update, and I'm like, I've just got it on pause.
Oh, no.
I've had it on pause for ages. I'm like, I will do it. Now, briefly, I want you three to explain it to me. One of you can do it. NFTs. This is to do with Stalker as well. Stalker 2 had this kind of rumour that had NFTs in there. Right? What is an NFT? Who can explain it really well? No one at all.
Who wants to go?
I know what it stands for.
It's non-fungible token. We know that.
I spent all day learning that.
Oh, you stole James's thunder there.
Sorry. Darren's can have a go, can't he?
I can give it a go. So it's essentially a digital version of a real world kind of asset. Is the best way to describe it. And I still struggle to get my head around it and how it all works because I still don't really understand cryptocurrency. You know, some people are like, oh, have you seen the value of this has gone up? I'm thinking, you know, what on earth are you talking about? But it's all kind of in the digital revolution of how we traditionally do things in terms of, you know, manage money or buy and sell items and assets and whatnot. So there's been some controversy, hasn't there? Because I think Square Enix said that they were looking at including NFTs as part of their kind of strategy this year, and it's split opinion. So they're gathering some momentum in terms of value as well. So a good way to think of it is for video games, it's becoming a popular way to buy and sell digital artwork, and then you, in theory, you own that artwork and you could use it in different settings or in different software titles. In theory, I don't know how close we are to that. So yeah, if you own a bit of the digital world and it's yours and you have rights over it, then I don't really know how far that goes and if it's a good thing in the long run. I'm not really convinced. I don't know if that's helped, Gareth, but that's the best way I can describe it.
Richard's dying to get in here. Richard, aren't you?
I have a question.
Can I give my example for it, and then we'll go to your question, right?
Yes.
This is me putting it on basic. Say I'm on Forza 5, right? Mm-hmm. And I designed a livery for a car, right? That's mine. Mm-hmm. Is that one of them? Could I then sell that to someone else? If that game allowed that. It won't allow it at the moment, if that allowed it. So is the idea that you can make something that you can sell onwards in a game?
I think so. So if it's your digital creation and it's kind of yours, and they identify it as yours through a code or whatever it will be, then I think, yeah, in theory, that's possible.
Okay. Sorry, Richard, your question.
It's a similar question, but it's... So last week, there was on the internet, there was a woman that hit the headlines because she was selling her farts in a jar. I don't know if you saw.
Oh yeah, saw that. Yeah,
I didn't see that. But...
she had to stop doing it because the diet she was basically giving herself to make sure she could fart in a jar was causing her a lot of pain. So she started doing NFT farts in a jar. But my question is, what is that? Is it like a JPEG of a fart in a jar? And here's what you could have, but you don't actually own anything physical.
I mean, that's a great example.
I wasn't sure where Richard was going with it, but now
these are the hot questions that run through my mind.
Yeah, I like it, Richard.
I guess a fart in a jar, you couldn't identify it visually because in theory it would just look like an empty jar unless there was something seriously wrong with you. So I don't know how that would, unless you labelled it and that was accepted, you labelled the jar. But it's the definition apparently is like a digital asset which represents a real world object. So if it was identifiable in the digital world as that, then maybe in theory.
So in a best case, in a scenario like if you've got something like an open world game, a multiplayer, like let's say No Man's Sky, where you can go No Man's Sky and you can build a whole house if you want to now with all the stuff and in your little planet. You could build your own house and you could design artwork and put it on the walls. And then Darren could come along and go, I like that. And he could buy that artwork off me and put it in his house on a different planet.
I think so, because it would be like a collector's item. And it would be like if I bought it at an auction or something, and it was by an artist, and then I would own that. I think in essence that's the kind of theory behind it.
But you can only own it in that game, can't you? Probably, could you take it away from that game and have it on your dashboard? Can you, or something like that?
I've seen some commentary that you could then take that digital asset with you into different, software or whatever.
Right.
But I don't know how easy that is, because obviously then it becomes really complicated in terms of copyright and control over people's, different games or whatever it is. So I don't know if we're there yet, but in theory, that's where it goes. That's the kind of next step from what I've read.
Okay.
I have another question.
Sorry, go on, Richard, go on.
What's the difference between an NFT and DLC then?
I guess DLC is linked to, it's like an extension of a video game that's then they make copies and sell it like they would distribute a video game, whereas an NFT is supposed to be like a one-off and an item that you own.
Okay.
It's the best way I can sum it up, I guess.
Beyond Good and Evil 2, when it first got announced back in the 1900s, it was, they had the thing with this software program that I can't remember the name of now, which was basically it's a sort of platform for writers, musicians mainly, to kind of share their work with other creators.
Is this when they brought Jason Gordon-Levitt out?
That's right. He has that platform.
Yeah,
so
yeah, I know.
He has that.
Hit record.
That's right. Hit record. Yeah, and I think the idea was that they would work with that game, and you could be making music that appears in that game, which might have a similar thing to it. Maybe they were thinking about that then. Sorry,
guys. They used that in Watch Dogs Legion.
Did they?
But I don't know if that came out before NFTs were a thing. I think.
I mean, I like the idea of it. I like the idea that people can kind of create things in that world and they can sell stuff, because things like Forza and things like those games when people make stuff, like liveries for cars, or they do something, they're creative. People build these amazing kind of houses or things, in these worlds. It's kind of like there's something quite nice that people kind of have a place that they can sell that stuff.
Yeah,
it
is
is
beneficial for the creators, really.
Yeah,
I think they're the ones that are gonna even make it work because they can sell their work. And apparently, if you buy the NFT, the creator can also get a percentage of whatever you sell it on for after that, and every time you sell it.
Right.
So if you sell that digital asset, you can make money on it, but also the creator makes money on it. So everyone's kind of a winner.
Yeah.
It's like a royalty, is it, almost?
Yeah. Which work quite well in the music industry, I suppose.
Yeah.
With songs.
Yeah.
You can always get your own royalties then.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. That makes sense to me now.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Especially Richard's fart in a jar, and now as he brought it into sharp focus.
All I'll say is, Richard, if in 2 years NFTs are still a thing and cryptocurrency is not folded in itself, then make your move on fart in a jar and lock that down.
Right. Thank you. I'll use some sort of NFT guru now.
Good.
Well,
at least
more
not a
tips
title for the podcast.
Yeah. Can I have a feature every week? I'll give you tips on what to buy, what's hot, what's not.
Sorry, we're going to go on. We're going to finish. What are we looking forward to next week? Richard, what are you looking forward to?
Well, I am going suit shopping at the weekend to find my suit for the wedding, and I've picked up my wedding. I found my wedding ring. I'm picking that up tomorrow.
Brilliant.
So things are getting serious.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, that's good. Good luck with that. What are you going for?
Blue, I think.
Oh, nice. Good
dark blue.
Great. Good luck with that, Richard.
Thank you.
Darren, what are you doing?
Well, it was just going to be work, and then we're heading away to the lakes next weekend. But you have reminded me both that Afterlife's back, isn't it, on Friday on Netflix? So I'm looking forward to that as well.
You've ruined James's next one. That was his.
Yeah, cheers, Darren.
Sorry, James.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Afterlife. which comes back on Friday.
Okay.
And Titans, I want to finish that season 3. Yeah, plenty of Netflix in next week.
Good. I've got nothing really going on. I've got work. That's it. Constant work. I'll be crying. That's what I've put down here. Crying.
Oh, that makes sense.
But yeah. So work. I might play some games. There's things coming out. There's loads of stuff to come out and watch. Ozark. That's coming out soon. Again, that's a great TV soon. Yeah. But gentlemen, thank you so much. Now, if we want to chat to you, where would we find you? James, where would we find you?
I'm on Twitter and Instagram at OKGKO.
Great. Richard, what about you?
Yeah, on Twitter and Instagram at Dobbo1912.
And Darren, what about you?
I'm just on Twitter at 27 Darren.
And find me at GB Briley on all sorts of things. And Twitter, blah, blah, blah. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
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 Bye-bye, everyone.
You've been listening to the official podcast of TheXboxHub.com. You'll be able to find all the notes of this show at www.TheXboxHub.com/podcast. You can also check out our social feeds on Instagram and Twitter at The Xbox Hub and search for The Xbox Hub on Facebook.